Linear added 10,000 people to a waitlist before launching. If Jira, Asana, and a dozen other tools were already meeting their users' needs, then why did so many people raise their hand for something that didn't even exist yet? It's because Linear didn't pitch a product, they pitched a belief. It was software tools should be built for the people who actually use them. That belief became a manifesto and not just a product pitch, but a total philosophy on how software should be built. While everyone else in the category was competing on features and pricing, Linear rallied people around a conviction. Today, I'm breaking down how Linear did this with a very clear framework that you can use for yourself. Here is the Belief Moat Framework. Most B2B companies position themselves around features and benefits. And that usually works until a competitor copies the feature, matches the price, or bundles it all into something bigger. Belief-based positioning is different. You are not asking customers to evaluate your product based on the features. You're asking them if they share your view of how the world should work. That's a stickier and much harder thing for your competitors to replicate. To find yours, here are the 4 steps. First, identify the unspoken compromise. Every category has a trade-off that everyone has to accept and very few people actually like. In mature categories, it's probably been going on so long that it's invisible. In emerging categories, it might be just a limitation that everyone works around. So in project management, the compromise was that tools were built for the middle managers, not for the people doing the actual work. How they did it. The founders of Linear were individual contributors at companies like Airbnb and Coinbase and Uber. So the tools they used were clearly not optimized for them. They were optimized for the buyer instead of the individual contributor. It was a clear and very tangible frustration that they all felt, and so did their peers. Why it works. Belief moats don't start with the product idea. They start with the structural frustrations that the entire market shares, or at least most people in the market. So how you do it. Talk to 10 of your customers or prospects and ask what they tolerate, but probably resent about existing options. The complaint that 8 out of 10 people reference, even if it's just indirectly, is your unspoken compromise in the industry. Step 2, write the counter narrative. Once you've found that compromise, let's codify the alternative. And we need to do this publicly because most founding teams, they take these beliefs and they hold them internally. So they discuss them at strategy meetings, but when it comes time to say them out loud to the rest of the market, they stay silent. Publishing is the syndication step needed to reach the rest of the market. So how they did it. Linear published a set of very clear principles for how software should be built. It wasn't a product comparison. It was a grounding declaration of values. And that blog post helped to generate the traction that led to 10,000 people on a waitlist. Why it works. An unpublished belief is just an opinion, but a published belief is a positioning strategy. How you do it. Write a 1-page document describing how your category should work. If you can't articulate it in a way that you would be willing to share externally, you may not have a strong enough belief to build around. And be sure to watch out for what I would consider to be the most common mistake, which is really just a feature pitch disguised as a philosophy. Step 3 is curate your feedback loop. This is where the belief moat really starts to compound. Because when you publish a conviction, the people who are most likely to respond are actually self-selecting. They share your worldview already. And so the feedback that they provide to you is directionally aligned with where you want to go. You're not burning cycles reconciling opposing views. So how they did it. Linear used their waitlist as a selection mechanism. They, cherry-picked a few people, like 10 per week, that seemed to be the most motivated on that list. And then they made those the early users that helped shape their product. And it worked because it was a shared understanding of what the product should be and what good meant. Why it works. The belief doesn't just attract customers, it filters for the right customers to learn and share with. The user who wants you to be more like whatever other option is out there, the incumbent, is probably not the user that will help you become the next category leader. Step 4 is animate the belief. This is where we inject the belief into each customer touchpoint. So from the very first impression that a customer has with your brand, all the way through onboarding and product usage. How they did it. Linear's belief shows up everywhere, even in super nuanced ways across the company. They chose terms like issue tracking over project management because it spoke directly to their engineer audience. Their sales teams are also super technical people, and they don't have product managers at the company. Why it works. The belief has to be legible at every single touch point, not just that one time in the manifesto. Anything else makes it an empty promise. So how you do it? Audit your sales process and your onboarding flows. Find where the belief is the strongest, where it's the weakest, and then probably where it's non-existent. The gap between your stated philosophy and your actual customer experience is where your belief moat is actually solidified or it totally falls apart. The important thing to take away here is that most B2B categories are still philosophically unclaimed. The incumbents have optimized for their features or their pricing or their sales motions. And sometimes they even try to avoid taking a position at all. That's the opportunity. Linear isn't taking market share from Jira just by offering new features or better pricing. They orchestrated an authentic belief that let the believers actually come to them. So if you can't articulate what your company believes about your category, well, then you are competing on differentiators that probably won't last. They're not durable. Beliefs will always outlive features. So I hope you found this video super helpful. I included a link in the description to the full written teardown from the First to Market newsletter. I also hope you subscribe so that you see the next video when we drop it next week.